Genesis 12. And Yahweh said to Abram, Go forth from your land, and from your kin, and from your father's house, to the land which I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and make your name great, and so you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth will be blessed. So Abram went forth as Yahweh had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. Now Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. So Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions which they had accumulated, and the persons which they had acquired in Haran, and they departed to go forth to the land of Canaan. Thus they came to the land of Canaan. And Abram passed through the land as far as the site of Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. Now the Canaanite was in the land. Then Yahweh appeared to Abram and said, To your seed I will give this land. So he built an altar there to Yahweh, who had appeared to him. Then he proceeded from there to the mountain on the east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east, and there he built an altar to Yahweh and called upon the name of Yahweh. And Abram journeyed on, continuing toward the Negev. Now there was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land. And it happened as he drew near to entering Egypt, that he said to Sarai his wife, Now behold, I know that you are a woman beautiful in appearance, and it will be when the Egyptians see you, that they will say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Please say that you are my sister, so that it may go well with me because of you, and that I may live on account of you. Now it happened when Abram came into Egypt that the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. And Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. Therefore he treated Abram well because of her, and sheep and oxen and donkeys and male and female servants and female donkeys and camels came into his possession. But Yahweh struck Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Then Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her for myself as a wife? So now, here is your wife, take her and go. So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that belonged to him. God's declaration to Abraham, I think, is worded very specifically. He does not say, Abram, you will be a great nation. You will be blessed, and your name will be great. God says, I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I will bless those who bless you. The subject is God. It's to the land I, God, Yahweh, will show you, in verse 1. So this is a very unilateral covenant, where God simply chooses to make a promise and fulfill it. How does Abram respond? Abraham went, verse 4. And we might think at this point, Abram, he's the one. Maybe Noah was not the one. But Abram, he seems pretty good. Yahweh mentioned to Abram in verse 7, To your seed I will give this land. So Abram built an altar there. He worshipped. He obeyed God and went to the place God wanted him to go, and he worshipped. Then things got difficult. Verse 10, there was a famine. The famine was severe. In verse 11, he said to Sarai his wife. In verse 12, he thinks the Egyptians will say, This is his wife, and they will kill him. And you see his motive in verse 13, that it may go well with me. He's asking his wife to lie and say that she's actually his sister. They can see that what he's worried about would contradict what God has promised. Back in verse 12, they will kill me. God has already promised Abram that from him he would be a great nation, and to your seed I will give this land. According to God's promise, he has to have offspring, and at this point, he doesn't yet. So he can't die, but he's worried about dying in the hands of Egyptians. Within the same chapter in which we get to know Abram, we already see that he is a flawed man, unfit to be a savior, but rather a sinner just like us. It's easy when we are in a desperate situation, when there's some sort of famine that's severe in the land, that we no longer think about God's promises, and we become unreasonable and worry and become anxious about something that's not really consistent with what God has promised. And I appreciate that the Bible contains characters whom we can relate to, and that even when we mess up, God still keeps his promise, because he says, I will, I will, I will. The power is not in our performance. The power is in the promises of God. He said he will. Whatever he says goes. We learned that back in Genesis 1. Whatever he says will appear. That is the power of God, the faithfulness of God. Those are my thoughts. Hope to hear from you as well.